Wow, I look tired today. Well, a lot has happened since the last vlog I did about therapy. Um, I was actually had to call in sick last Monday. Um, I think it's because of the damper weather and stuff, but my physical health problems have been a lot worse recently. The pain's been worse, but that's common with fibromyalgia. Um, Damper weather, colder weather tends to really mess us about. Um, and my fatigue has been really bad as well. I mean, it's actually getting quite worrying. Recently, I've found that in the daytime, even if I've had like enough sleep, even if I've had lots of sleep or hardly any sleep, it's still the same. Where okay, I'm getting the bad fatigue and stuff, but sort of around mid-afternoon I'm getting to a point where I'm struggling just to stay awake. um like I can feel my eyes just closing, and I found I could be in the middle of something and I just fall asleep and I just drop whatever I've got, and which it's quite worrying if I can't keep myself awake properly at that time of day. um I know fatigue can be quite bad with things like fibromyalgia, but I think this is like something else. I think this is worse than it should be, if you get what I mean. But yeah, there was that, and I had other symptoms that usually get a lot worse when I'm flaring up. So I was getting really bad nausea, like it felt like I was going to throw up a lot of the time. My dizziness was a lot worse. I was falling over easily. I just generally felt really sort of under the weather and weak and stuff. And I had times where I felt like I was going to faint. I just felt so ill, and I could barely get out of bed on that Monday, so I had to have that day off. Um, but I was determined, no matter how I felt, that I would still go today. Luckily, it didn't feel quite as bad as last Monday, so at least it wasn't too much of a struggle to get there. But I still wasn't doing great. I think I've put it in my blog, but I think it was the start of, it might have been the start of last week or just a few days ago. I had the dreaded, white envelope come through my letterbox. I'm going to be reassessed for ESA. And I had a feeling it was going to be soon. Like, it seemed to be sort of every year or so that I get reassessed, but the last couple of times I think they just assessed me on paper, but I'm worried that it might be a face-to-face assessment this time. And the last face-to-face assessment I had was horrible, and the decision maker actually gave me points and said, oh, I'm in the work-related activity group, but I saw the ATOS report, and the nurse, even though she'd noted down a lot of struggles that I had that were actually related to the descriptors, she still gave me 0 points. So it's like, she put something down that's pretty much what the descriptors say that you'll get points for, but then she'd put none of the above apply, which really didn't make any sense. So I can see why the decision maker did give me points for that. But I had a struggle with the work-related activity group. I mean, it turned out I wasn't even well enough for that. I didn't realise, and my health has deteriorated since then. But with the assessments and that, it's not like you can guarantee that because you're really seriously ill that you'll definitely get into a support group, you'll definitely qualify for ESA. It seems to be more about luck or about where you live and stuff. And I guess I'm just worried that they're just going to throw me off, or they're going to force me onto the work programme again for the work-related activity group. And I struggled enough at the time, like suicidal feelings and stuff were really, really bad at the time. I was having a lot of crises, and I just really don't want to get back to that point. I saw my therapist today, and because the last session had run on longer than the hour, I think one of his bosses had a word with him or something, and he said that we have to keep it to between 50 minutes and an hour today. So he wanted to stick to the agenda, like stick to the interpersonal therapy rather than just having a chat or whatever. So I had lots I wanted to chat about, because I wanted to see whether there was something like you could write a letter or something just to sort of say, yes, this person, they are struggling a lot with this. So, you know, the professional opinion, I suppose. But I don't know if he's going to do that. I don't know what to do in terms of gathering evidence for that, really. But yeah, with this session, it was about the kind of the relationships I have with people sort of now, really. I wasn't concentrating well on it, but I gave it a try. I kept forgetting people, which is silly. So there was a piece of paper that he gave me, and it was like the inner circle, and then there's one around it, and there's a few like that, maybe like 3 or 4 or something. So in the most inner circle it said self, and then there's sort of like the closest relationships and stuff, whether it's friends or family or partners, whatever. And he was asking me about the kind of people that are in my life, whether it's like a friend, family member, whether it's like a romantic relationship or anything, just any kind of relationship. So I was saying for closest, it would be my parents. You know, I live with them and I'm quite open with them, I think. And I feel quite close to them as well. I feel like I talk a lot to them. And you know, in some ways they understand some bits as well. Then I mentioned a couple of best friends. I was explaining like a lot of the really close friends I have are ones that I only speak to on the internet. Like they live really far away, or I went to uni with them, and because of my anxieties with going out of the house on my own, I rarely get the chance to actually see them in person. And I guess I just don't like to think about it much, because I'm really struggling. I know I want to meet up with them. I mean, I'm not exactly proving it now, but I am quite a social person, I think. I don't like being on my own. I mean, I like having my own space now and again, but I couldn't do spending my life alone without friends and stuff, without meeting up with friends. So that's what I've got to work on, according to the therapist. But it's things like the anxieties I have with going out the house by myself, like walking somewhere or taking a taxi or whatever. Buses are out of the question. I'm far too nervous about taking buses. Various reasons for that. And also being in sort of busy places, group situations, that kind of thing. I mean, I've never been able to do something like group therapy, because the idea of being in a room that and for a certain amount of time, and I might not necessarily know the people there, it's made me really nervous. And I have an overactive bladder, so my mind is a lot on that. And it's like, how many times am I going to have to go out the room, like excuse myself to go to the toilet? It's going to disrupt the class or whatever. So I suppose that sort of built up, and I get really panicky at the idea of being in a group situation now, and I get too panicky to sort of travel by myself. and that's definitely got worse. I mean, it went from sort of once in a while I could, maybe with the help of diazepam, but even with that now it's too much. But I know my therapist wants me to do something about that and gradually get to a point where I can get out the house a bit more, and that I can be in some group situations, because of course I need to be okay with that to have a social life, basically. But so there's the anxiety with that, but I also feel stuck with stuff because some of the reasons why I'm on ESA is because of mental health, because of anxieties with certain things, and I feel like if I improve in any small way or just try, then it's gonna be like, if I try in any way, then it's gonna be like I've fraudulently claimed ESA or whatever, so I can try to cheat the system when all I'm doing is just trying to get better at some things and get to a point where hopefully I won't need ESA. You know, it's not like I can go from can't do this to can do this and there's no in between. So I just don't know what to do. I mean, I'm not deliberately not helping myself, obviously, because I do want to get better, but I suppose I'm hesitating or whatever. It's making me anxious to do something like that, so there's that. But I didn't get time to really talk through my anxiety with that with the therapist, because by the time we'd gone through all this, the session had ended. So I felt really nervous about that, and I felt really down for the rest of today, because it feels like there's still so many things I need to talk about and I need to ask and I suppose get reassurance about, but I've just not had time, and I can't just contact him out of hours or whatever. There's out of hours team and stuff, but that's for like crisis, and I don't know if I'm at that stage just yet. I know I'm struggling, but I just don't think I'm ill enough really to go and contact them. I mean, it'd just be me just spouting out a load of questions. Oh dear, I don't know what to do really. I'm trying to figure it out. I feel like I'm stuck with my anxiety and my depression and that, but I also feel like I'm stuck because I'm treated with suspicion if I try to do anything about that. It's really strange. I don't know what else to say in this vlog really. I feel quite lost and I can't really conclude it or anything like that. So the next session I think is the last of the sort of introductory things. So it'll be getting an idea of how we move on from here, and also the main parts of my depression, like I suppose sort of the main reasons, if you could call it that. So there's that. But I'm hoping we'll get enough time to talk more about this ESA and whether the therapist could help back me up with what I'm saying about what I'm struggling with. So yeah, I suppose next week, I'll upload a vlog again and talk about my next session, and hopefully we'll know what's going on from there. Okay, I'll speak to you soon then.